Okay, we are going to welcome you back to the Principals Podcast, and it might seem like it's just myself, but Mr. Hyman Bondi will be joining us today. We're talking boys lacrosse, and so we have Caleb, we have Michael in the corner, and we have Cooper, and they'll be talking here momentarily. They are the captains of boys lacrosse. Guys, how you doing?
Good. How
Good.
are
How are
you?
you?
Wonderful. Wonder why? It's Thursday.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, you get to sleep in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's Good Friday, day off. We got Easter weekend. We have Monday off. It's perfectly placed, specifically because there's been a full moon and all the werewolves have been coming out to play. A lot of unique behaviors this week. So Chaim's joining us now, which is perfect. Mr. Chaim, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How's everyone doing out there?
Good.
So we were just mentioning how it is Thursday, but it's our real Friday. It's going into the weekend. It's really exciting. So last week we had the girls on. The girls are a young team also, and I'm going to start with the way we closed, and that
This will
is
be good.
playing on a girls' rules lacrosse field and rules with checking, etc. They believe that if they played you, all you boys, in their regulation, that they could take you down. Now they're athletic, and so are you. What do you think would occur if it was boys versus girls in an exhibition game following girls' rules? You guys couldn't check those special, like micro checking, whatever it's called, where you only can block sticks and such. Respectfully, what do you think will happen?
Well, I'll start. Do I get to use my stick rather than a girl stick because they're a little bit different?
I think we have to
No.
play by girls' rules.
You got to
girl
use the
stick?
girl stick and
Yeah.
everything. Yes.
Girl sticks are a lot different.
Yeah, it'd be weird to get used to.
So I think it'd be close if you give us some time to get used to the girls' rules and girls' sticks. But I think if we switched it and put boys' rules, I think we'd
Blow 'em out of the
yeah.
water.
I think we'd have a
Field day.
yeah.
Field day. Well, what I love about that is the competitive nature of both of your teams. You both are hungry to win. You have a culture of winning that's been established over the years, both in lacrosse, but you guys play multiple sports or have played multiple sports. And being a part of like the football team with that tradition. This year you have a new coach, Coach Caballero. You have Mr. Schmidt too. And you have a graduate coming back, right?
Yep, Matt.
So he was a goalie, but he was kind of injured because of his knee surgery.
Yeah.
So does he bring that fire like he did like as football player / like cheerleader last year on the sidelines?
100%.
Yeah, big time.
So let's start with Coach Caballero. What's different this year that you've noticed from the start with like the approach or like the conditioning or the drills or anything specific?
Well, right away, it wasn't even focused on winning. It was building the culture. And we were just, this season's message, it's on the back of our helmets, it's brotherhood. So he just really brought, like, we're a family on this team, and that's what he's really brought this year.
That's awesome. He's a wonderful man. He certainly has played the game. He knows the game. Coach Schmidt is kind of that additional helping hand. He not only knows the game, but he's kind of a support for not only the coach, but also to the players, kind of the mind side, helping guys getting calmed down, getting substitutions in, helping specifically. I'm sure it was like clockwork for him. He didn't have to change anything with his approach, right?
You know, Coach Schmidt's a great guy. He's a great leader. I think I speak for everyone that everyone's a big fan of Coach Schmidt, and we're really glad to have him.
He's been coaching us since middle school, so we've gotten super close with him. He's a great coach.
Yeah, and he's a great person and a great father for sure.
Yeah.
So this year you guys have you, believe it or not, been impacted by the weather. We've seen more lacrosse practices indoors, mostly because of snow, but you've had some, either you or the girls have had cancellations either due to the weather or cancellations due to like lightning and thunderstorms. How have you had to respond? And like right now, it's sunny out. This morning, it was raining sideways. The benefit for you is you can practice on our turf and have in 28 degrees if there's no snow on the field. And you've already played in like 74 degrees and like 40-mile-an-hour winds. Um, does it mess with your mind at all? Like, how do you persevere through all that?
Yeah, it's tough, but like you said, we play on the turf with heavy rain, even if it's snowing a little bit. So it's just something we have to get used to and dress for the weather, no matter what.
Our first week of practice was like we had a
All
foot of
in the
snow
snow.
on the field, and we still practice out there just to get used to it, kind of. So we've somewhat adapted to it, but it's still not ideal a lot of times. But nothing you can do about it.
So speed is really important in your game. Athleticism and speed. At the expiration of last year's turf, you kind of knew what you get out of it, and it was still in the sense of like it was playable. I mean, it wasn't. There were a lot of weird creases because of just how the seams were coming apart. But did you have to adapt to the sand, rubber sand and rubber base? Kind of, it's cushy. You played a football on it, Cooper, but playability. Did you have to adjust to it? The girls said it's softer when you land, like if you go into the ground. But anyway, anything different about playing on that turf?
The only thing different I would say is the ground balls, because there's so much more turf and like sand in there that when you're like the stick gets caught occasionally. But other than that, I haven't noticed a super big difference.
I had a super bad ankles last year, and I think a lot of it was due to the turf. But this year they're a lot better. I think it's a lot softer, so I have noticed it.
And I believe the O's are known for having bad knees. So how's your knees on that turf?
This turf definitely feels great. It feels nice and soft. I'm sure Tim wish he could have played on this. Maybe would have saved him. But I think this turf is great.
So you've played how many games so far, fellas?
6, yeah.
6. What's your record right now?
2-4.
Okay. Records don't matter early in the season, certainly, because I could also tell you that being that I coach travel softball and I've watched my daughters play, they started off slow too. And a lot of it has to do with getting into those routines and the speed and the breakup of things and like adjusting to the various weather, and any given day this can occur. But then you start getting into more routines. I think we're at the cusp of being able to get into more routines, and it probably will occur coming next week. But the other thing I will say is the strength of schedule. Like you could go and play teams that are just up and coming and just literally throttle them 32-0, and that does you no good. Maybe a little bit more, some of your confidence might come up, but then you try to take that same approach against, teams that have been around for 20 some years, and you're like, what's going on? So I'm big on getting to the depth of your strength of schedule and playing hard teams intermixed between capable or comparable teams, so that when you get into conference play, you're completely ready to go. So would you say that your schedule has led you to play some competitive teams?
For sure.
Yeah, I think last year our schedule was really polarized between really easy win or just kind of a blowout. But this year we've had 4 of our games have been really, really close, and then we've had one blowout win and one blowout loss. So our schedule is a lot harder this year, but I think it makes us better.
And I really believe, I mean, you're a very young team, and I still use the word that juniors, you're still a young team because you lost a year from COVID, just like 2 years ago where you didn't play at all. And last year you were kind of young and old. You had some seniors, but you also had some sophomores and freshmen, et cetera. now that you have a year of playing together, and obviously you have some kids coming up into your program, you're probably heavier in the junior world this year, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to really establish some really good leadership that's going to develop through the year. That's going to lead, and Mr. Heim will say it himself. What about now? But the reality is that is true. But the more you play together, the more you understand and trust each other, and you are adapting to the new style of coaching. Um, you're going to fast track that. You really are. So who we play next week?
Kenston.
Kenston, big game,
Mhm.
Yeah.
big game, home or away?
Home.
Okay. Is that Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday home game under the lights, Shard Memorial Field against the Bombers, which we respect every team we play, but it's now a rivalry game. So are you excited about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be a big game. They're a really good team.
How about early on in the season? I know you're only 6 deep. Some kids that really have shown some depth, some growth, some maturity that is sooner than you thought as captains.
The biggest one for me is probably Brody Dotson. He's a senior, but like he has no previous lacrosse background, and he's just come out and he's earned a starting role, and he's playing really, really good right now.
The other one I'd say has been Nick Schneider at the start of this year. We had some problems, things on and off the field, but in our last couple games, we've gotten things going, great chemistry on the field.
I would point out Adam Zielinski. He had an amazing game against Orange, some of his first varsity minutes, and it's his first season, but he really showed he's a great player.
That's really good. And to hear that from the captains just shows that leadership that you emulate, because there's a lot of expectations as a captain, and it's whether it's right or wrong. Everyone expects you to be all-stars in everything you do, but it doesn't come from just playability. It comes from your vocal leadership and your supporting leadership, because we're all human and we have bad athletic days, and it's important that we're able to support each other. Mr. Hyam, we're now talking boys lacrosse, which last week we had some very competitive girls and we had some very competitive boys. You come up with any questions similar or different?
I have some similar ones, but I do want to ask them a question. Guys, we have a lot of sports here at the high school. Some are more popular than others, and there's various reasons for that. Probably everyone would say football's popular, and it's probably because, how much success they've had. But the one thing no one can deny is that lacrosse is probably our fastest growing sport, both boys and girls. Can you maybe give us some insight why lacrosse is so intriguing to athletes here at our school and around the area?
Yeah, I don't know. Starting a couple years ago, not many people even knew almost anything about lacrosse. So seeing people start to play it definitely brought interest to people, I'd say. And then lacrosse is just a sport that it has contact, it has hitting, which obviously would bring people in, but also has things like speed that you need. So I don't know, it has something for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of all sports really, and it's a super fast game, which is super fun. You can hit, and you get a little bit of everything in it. So I think people are just coming out of the realization that what a fun sport it is, really.
So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Bondi. I'm sure she has a few questions for you guys, and then I'll have a little chicken and steak for you afterwards.
All right.
I'm sorry I'm late to the party, but just finished and wrapped up some stuff from the day, so I'm glad I could still catch you guys. So you might have already talked about this, but how did you get into lacrosse? Did you already talk about this?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just because like Mr. Hyman, Mr. Murray already touched on, there's a lot of little kid soccer leagues. There's a lot of little kid flag football leagues. There's a lot of little kid t-ball leagues, but there's really not a huge offering of like little kid lacrosse. So like it had to have been a little bit later in life for you, right?
I started with a club out in Paynesville called Lightning, and that was way before Chardon had anything. But right when all of us got to middle school, Chardon introduced their middle school club, and we had like the junior class now. There's probably 15 kids just joined, and that junior class has stayed strong ever since.
I joined a year later than everyone. I joined in 8th grade, and it was just through talking to people, and I saw it on like YouTube and TV, and it sparked my interest. And so just talked to people that played the year before, and I went to a practice in the winter, an off-season practice, and I loved it.
And then I've been family friends with the Schmidts since I was real little. So when he was starting up the program when I was in 7th grade, he asked me to join up.
Nice. I know Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
What is the key like the attribute that you think a good lacrosse player has? Like, is it strength? Is it agility? Is it speed? Is it, quick decision making? Like, I don't know. What do you think makes a good lacrosse player?
I think one of the biggest things is speed. With that is stick skills. And I mean, with just like any sport, you have to have strength to be successful, I think.
I'd say toughness is a big one.
Mhm.
Like mental and physical toughness, taking hits, and also like continuing to play if you're not getting calls going your way.
Yeah, I think maybe not a physical attribute, but just optimism. If you give up in the second quarter, that the other team's not going to give up, and they're just going to run up the score.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten hit really hard with a stick? I mean, I'm sure that happens all the time, right?
Yeah,
Every day.
pretty common. Yeah,
Every day.
Yeah.
Ever on purpose?
Usually Michael over here too.
Michael?
Yeah,
You do the
Yeah.
hitting?
yeah, but they usually get me back if I ever end up with the ball. Usually Cooper gets me back pretty well.
Yeah. I'm sure practices are fun.
Yeah.
Is there a little bit of an understanding that you don't cross the line of intentionally trying to hit people because it kind of will come back to you? Or is that kind of why some players really like it, is because of the aggressiveness?
I think aggressiveness is probably a big part of it, but it certainly comes back around. Like if you're just throwing checks, you're hitting people out of the blue, it's going to come back to you for sure. So I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Is lacrosse going to take over hockey as looking at the most aggressive sports, losing teeth and all of that? Do you think lacrosse would take that top seed?
I don't know. We don't have the fights like hockey does.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hockey gets pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you guys get to be outside in the sunshine, hopefully today for practice, right? When's practice today?
5:30.
Ah, hopefully it's still sun shining then.
You guys like chicken and steak, like the meal?
Yeah.
Mhm.
These guys like to eat. Come on,
I'm
look at
gonna
them.
whip up a nice meal here called chicken or steak. So what do you got for them?
A lot about food, a lot of things about food and drink right now. Going into a 4-day break, I'm sure everyone will be enjoying different meals here through, the holidays here that we are heading into. So, guys, real quick, I'm just looking at you guys. I know the answer here: fruit or vegetables?
It's fruit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you could tell they're not a vegetables. Look at those guys right there. M&Ms or Skittles?
Ooh. I'm gonna go Skittles.
Yeah, I'm probably Skittles, unless it's peanut butter M&Ms.
Anything peanut butter, right?
Yeah.
Just do me a favor, and Miss Bondi, just do the two of us a favor. Do not bring peanut butter into Mr. Murray's office. Can you just make that promise to us?
You'll see anaphylactic shock.
Vanilla or chocolate ice cream?
Vanilla. Yeah.
Boy, they're on the same page with everything. Soft or hard tacos?
Hard.
Soft.
I'm a soft. Yeah.
All right. You guys got to get that meal right after the victory next week. Where are we going? Are we going to McDonald's or Wendy's?
Ooh.
I might be staying home.
Nice.
Good choice.
I second that. I wouldn't
Good
choose either.
choice.
All right, let's change it up for Chard. Patron, El Patron, are you going to Joey's?
I'm gonna go to Joey's.
Joey's.
Probably Joey's. I don't know. I like some Mexican though.
They like those those, the bread
Garlic
knots,
knots.
the garlic knots when they just
Yeah.
keep bringing them out. That's what they like about there. All right. What about, I know you guys are all about this, yoga or parkour?
I'll probably go yoga.
I'll take some yoga.
Yeah, I don't
I
mind a
don't
good
know.
stretch.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a parkour kind of guy.
Yeah.
I feel like
Right.
the whole concept of parkour is really new. Is this new, or am I just new to parkour? Like somebody said parkour the other day, and I had to do research on it.
I feel like it's not really big around here. Like
Yeah.
you'll see it in like people doing it in cities and stuff, but I don't really see it around here at all.
Yeah, it's like the whole concept of like jumping from spot to spot and
Yeah.
landing. Yeah. Have you guys ever tried it?
Not really. I mean,
No.
Maybe when I was little.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah. But it wasn't called parkour. It was just called being a kid, right?
yeah.
It's called Brian Landy's doing some crazy thing in the weight room.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. I'm.
Hey, well, we're coming up to, prom and all those things. Maybe these guys will be lucky enough to be asked to the big day. Are you wearing a suit or a tux?
I don't know. Probably a suit.
Or a tuxedo T-shirt.
No, I'll probably go suit.
Yeah, that's
Take
what I'm
suit.
thinking.
Hey, but the important thing, and this is a Kovacs reference, are you going to wear socks or no socks?
Socks.
I cannot
Gotta
pull
wear
off the no
socks.
socks.
Got to have the socks. So Kovacs would be happy about that,
You know they go sleeveless after the first hour.
True.
Yeah.
Miss Bondi, you got to be ready for that.
I'm ready.
Got to be ready for it. And last one, guys. Last one. You're going to get your ears pierced or your nose pierced?
Ears, for sure.
Little chicken and steak for you right here on Thursday with the boys lacrosse team.
All right, gentlemen, we're at that part of the podcast where we give a shout out. People you want to thank, gratitude. It could be anyone from family, friends, coaches, teachers, grandma, grandpa. It could be your dog or cat, whatever you feel like on this Thursday. Who you want to give a shout out to today?
I'll start. Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Cole. I had him last year, but even to this day, I'll see him in the hall every single day. I'll give him a conversation. He'll talk it up with me. So yeah, Mr. Cole.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a shout out to just the coaches. They've really brought just a great attitude to the season, and they're obviously our leaders, and they've just done great things for this team so far.
I'll go with a class. I'll just give a shout out to my parents for just helping me through everything.
They are good people for sure. I got 2 shout outs today. First goes out to Jen Harcher, who was here from Fox 8. She came to do a sentimental piece about her hometown. She's a Chardon graduate. She came around, met with Mrs. Colcom. She walked the halls once again. She saw how similar everything looks, but she was really impressed on how much has changed inside the building with our programming. She did a really cool segment there with Mr. Robertson in the middle of him trying to get ready for a quiz. She interrupted, and it really surprised him. The other one is the man who has the headset on, Mr. Heim, who's been working behind the scenes, doing some magic over there in Infinite Campus, trying to get next year ready. So big shout out to him.
You
Bondi.
keep forgetting we're not all in the same order. I'm down on my screen. There's so many people to give shout outs to, but you know what? Today, I guess I would say Mrs. Blackburn takes the cake again. She just constantly, jumping in there, helping out where need be, having so many conversations with students, getting into anything and everything she needs to. So shout out to her. I think she's currently helping a student get home, actually. So she's just a wonderful lady.
No doubt.
My shout out goes to the CHS staff, specifically Miss Frenzel and the teachers who helped with testing last week. Many people talked about how smooth it was and how efficient it was, and they thanked me. But quite honestly, I have to thank the teachers for everything and Miss Frenzel for handling the duties once they had the students with them. So thank you, and I appreciate it. And just a few more days of testing. Hopefully, they'll go as smooth as we did with the English.
Yeah, the month's gonna fly, gentlemen. We're looking at April 14th. We have multiple 4-day weeks coming up. This being one, next week's another, and I believe the following week is another. In particular, for those students that don't have to come on that Friday, because it's a red day, black day, red day, black day, and then we have specific testing for social studies and map testing. So it's a shortened day regardless. So time's gonna fly. Before you know it's gonna be May, and before you know it's gonna be end of the end of the year. By the time we get to May, you guys are gonna be already 3/4 done with your season, but you're still beginning it. So good luck as you transition to next week. In the meantime, celebrate this weekend with your family and friends. Celebrate the simple things in life, and get back to work next week because I want you to see you take down the Bombers. They are adversaries. The principal over there is one of my best friends, and we would literally take care of each other. But when it comes to getting between the lines, we both want to win. So keep your focus straight, keep your practice strong, and have a great weekend, guys. And go Toppers. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
Go Tappers.
Go Toppers.